Welcome to the Caddo Convos, the podcast that explores the vibrant community of businesses thriving in Caddo Office Reimagined. We're here to shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and professionals who make the most of our private offices, co-working spaces, and day office rentals in the Dallas-Fort Worth suburbs. Join us as we share their stories, celebrate their successes, and dive into the benefits of working in a space that's close to home but offers so much more than working from home. Let's get started with today's conversation. So joining me today on the Caddo Convos is Michelle Valeri with MV Skin Consulting and Teen Acne Plano. Michelle, so glad to have you on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
It's great. We're neighbors in this same Caddo building, so we see each other a lot. And so finally we get to sit down and talk and learn about your skin consulting business. So tell me, what do you offer your customers?
Well, I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner, and I have learned secret Chinese medicine. So it's not the stuff that's in books or on Dr. Google or in traditional medical schools or Chinese medicine schools. And basically, it's a deeper understanding of how the body actually works. So I help people correct skin conditions and other health issues, but I primarily want to talk about acne. We get to understand what is going on with the body, why the body went there. And when you can understand what the secret messaging is from the body, it makes it really easy to correct. So I don't like to use products, supplements, medication, anything like that, because the body was designed to heal itself, and we just need to get out of its way.
Interesting. So what's the method? I know it's every person's different. Our
Yes.
complexion, our history, how we eating, and all of those
Absolutely.
things. So walk me through a customer journey. Like how do we start and what do we do?
Okay, so that's a great question. Everything that happens in the body will respond on the face first. So up to 3 years before it'll show up in MRI, CAT scan, or blood work. And so every area of the face also represents an internal area of the body. So being able to diagnose and understand what the body's telling us, because it always provides the clues, understand and be able to dissect and decipher that information, and then learn more about the patient. What is their lifestyle like, their daily routines? How are they feeding their body, mind, and spirit? What is their stress level? Even the season, the climate, everything comes into play. And so we take a very comprehensive look holistically at what this person is all about and introduce just little tweaks that can help fit into their lifestyle very easily. And then as they start making those incremental changes, the body will respond usually very quickly. And so, the body doesn't have acne or skin conditions because it has a lack of an expensive serum. It doesn't have a headache because it doesn't have headache medicine in the bloodstream. And so being able to decipher that information and offer, just like I said, just really simple tweaks, it really helps the client to understand that they're actually in control of their body, they're in control of their health, and they're not broken. I find so many people in the beginning, I used to get so frustrated because I want it to be the first phone call that people made, and I'm like, they get, they go through the ringer sometimes. And then I got to a point where I was like, you know what, no, I want to be the last phone call because that means I help them, right? And so when they can understand why things in the past did or didn't work and why this methodology will work, I think it's really important to explain all that. And when they can have that confidence to know that they're not broken, they're not doomed to being sick, they're not doomed to having bad skin or whatever the case is. This is just communication from the body saying, hey, I need your attention. And then once they give the proper attention to the body responds by healing itself, which is what it was designed to do.
How did you get to where you are?
Oh my gosh, it's a long story.
Of course it is.
It's a very scenic route.
Sure.
Yeah, so I owned a chiropractic clinic for almost 20 years when I was married, happily divorced now. And, I just have been in that, the body heals itself. And so I decided to go into Chinese medicine after that because I felt like as much as we saw miracles in our clinic, I still felt like there was a little bit of a missing piece. And I discovered that missing piece was Chinese medicine for me. Now, there are hundreds of schools of thought, theory, and philosophy on Chinese medicine, and none of them agree on anything. Imagine that. But I found several branches and lineages that do resonate and they do complete that picture. So wanting to be able to just help people on a different level and on a deeper level and have a more comprehensive understanding of the body and function and what's really happening. That's kind of how it led me there.
You said something I found very important for everybody to remember is you're not broken.
Right.
You have this body and you can do these things in it, and it sounds like you empower people to find their pathway to letting their body heal.
Absolutely. I've had people come to me before that were suicidal and, if you don't fix this, I'm done, and I'm like, well, that's a lot of pressure, but we're going to fix this. Luckily, everybody has, that has said that to me is alive and kicking and happy.
Wonderful.
But and I think that's what happens a lot of times, especially if you go to a practitioner that doesn't really understand how to help them, right? They don't want to admit sometimes that they don't know what to do and how to help. But in reality, they're not broken. That is the way the body was designed, and I can give a great example. If you have a bad mood that lasts for more than, 3 or 4 minutes, that's a symptom, right? And if you have a bad mood that lasts for a week or 6 months, that's really a major symptom, right? So the body always starts with the emotions, and we just kind of blow it off. We're like, everybody's stressed, or somebody cut me off in traffic, or I've just got so much going on. But that is really the body telling us which organ system is out of balance by the emotion that we're experiencing. And then when we start looking at the skin conditions, and one of the reasons that I like to start with the skin conditions is because that is the beginning of internal illnesses. Skin conditions it's not a beauty issue. It's a health issue. And it's always an internal issue, unless, of course, you've done something, ridiculous
injury,
to yourself,
yeah.
You use the wrong thing, or, you have an injury. It's always a method of communication. But what I find is that people, they want to care more about what they see in the mirror a lot of times than to actually make themselves healthier. They want to look better, so much pressure with social media and on this online stuff. And so that's why I kind of started with saying, okay, let's talk about what would you want to change if you looked in the mirror? Because, every line, mark, and feature has a meaning and tells us a story. And it's always positive, if you will understand what it means. A lot of people don't like their nose, or they don't like, certain things about their face. But if they understand that particular feature was there to remind them of who they are and what their strengths are, what their gifts are, then maybe they would have a better attitude about it. And so understanding that the skin conditions are actually really health warnings, that if you don't get this under control, it could be much serious at another time.
Well, important to stay ahead of that. Who is I would say your typical, there's so many different people you can help, but who's your typical customer, average,
Yeah, through the years, it has really transitioned. Right now, I'm putting a really big push on the teen acne because Dr. Google, likes to talk about the trends. I don't like to, I always tell people your body doesn't work on trends, but marketing does. And so the trend right now is that we have a $4.25 billion industry for acne. And by 2028, it is predicted to go to 7.91 billion.
Yeah.
And
Big
when you look at that is almost doubling in 3 years. That tells me that people don't know what it is or how to fix it, right? And in reality, it's the easiest skin condition to fix. And I think part of the reason that we have an issue with it is that nobody knows what acne really is. And with dermatology and the aesthetics world, they want to say that there are 4 stages, and they base it on how many zits you have, how big they are, how small, how bloody. That's how they gauge it. And there are actually 12 types and stages. Okay, so we're already set up for failure in that opinion, but through the years, I've helped women get hormones balanced naturally. I've helped with fertility. I've helped with, age reversal. Age reversal and anti-aging are 2 different things, 2 different ball games. And so, but I've had an influx of teens lately calling about the acne, and there's so much more pressure for them than what we had when we were in school and when we were teenagers. I can't even imagine. So I want them to be confident. I don't want them to feel they're being bullied or feel like they have to crawl into their little shell. So I want to help empower them and let them know that it will get better, it will go away, and I'm going to show you how to do it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so that's where I want to put my focus right now.
So right now, you and I are in the Caddo office reimagined here at Maple Shade in Plano.
Yes, I love it here.
Tell me why you chose Caddo.
Well, I was in McKinney for 7 years. I've been doing this for over 30 years, but I was in McKinney and I just wanted to be a little bit more centrally located because I had a lot of people coming from further than downtown Dallas and like 2 hours away. And so it was a little bit more centrally located. And it just, I don't know, when I walked in this building when it first opened up, the energy in here just felt so amazing and everybody's so nice. And I just love it. And everybody that comes in here, they just always tell me, oh, I love this place so much. And so I really like it a lot.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
We were talking about customers earlier, or clients.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a success story. I mean, because I know they come to you to help solve their problem,
Yeah.
or at least get ahead of it, and you empower them
Yeah.
to take control of it. Tell me a success story without mentioning names.
Yeah. So I have this one client that she was going to a dermatologist, and their routine typically is they want to put them on medication, they want to orally, they want to put them on a topical. But my experience has been that they typically get worse in those scenarios because it's not a cookie cutter thing, right? And that's how it wants to be approached most of the time. So she had gone on birth control pills, she had gone on all kinds of, different medications, and it just kept getting worse, and she was getting very depressed, and she went on antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds, and she was in college now, and it just really was hindering her personality and how outgoing she was. And so she was living out of state at the time, and so she would just come in periodically when she was coming back for holidays. And I said, this is an easy fix. Let's talk about how flexible you are with your living in the dorm and all that fun stuff. And so I came up with a plan for her, and within 6 weeks her skin was picture perfect clear, and her personality changed so much, and she just became very outgoing, and she got off of her medications, her anxiety, her depression meds. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know that's what she was trying to do, but she was like, I feel amazing now. And then what happened was, because she was feeling so good about herself, she started helping other people that she was classmates with that were feeling bad. And they're like, you need to not feel bad. This is just your body talking to you. And she would just repeat some of the things that I shared with her so that people would not feel bad about it, and that's what I thought was so great, because she was like, share my pictures. I want to help other people. And I thought that was really sweet, because most of the time when you don't like the way you look, you're embarrassed. But she told me the other day, she still comes in periodically, and she told me the other day, I ran into somebody and they stopped me and they said, oh my gosh, you just have the most beautiful skin. And she goes, let me show you what I used to look like. And so she pulled out the pictures and they were like, wow. And she's like, I know, I've come so far, So it was just really nice to have her embrace the whole realm of everything that she went through and then just share it with other people.
Well, what do you do to prepare them for their first session? As in, let's say I've found you, and we'll go into contact in a minute. Let's say I've found you and I'm set up my first appointment. How should I prepare for that first meeting with you?
Really, the biggest thing is just come in with an open mind, because most of the time people are coming to me and they've tried multiple practitioners. So just understand there is always an answer out there, and come in to my office with no makeup on, no products on your face, because I need to see what's really going on to be more accurate.
Do I track a diet? As in, I imagine you're going to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of acne they have, because everybody wants to blame dairy for everything, and dairy only is responsible for one type of acne. It's not responsible for all 12. And so I just tell them, don't change anything. Let's come in. I want to meet you where you're at. And if we need to change your diet or tweak it in some way, we will. But if we don't have to, why go through the stress of it, right? Let's make this as easy of a transition as possible. And like I said, if we just make little tiny tweaks, a lot of times it gets the ball rolling enough that the body gets to a point where it can compensate for the problems, right? And so, in chiropractic, we used to always tell people, when you get to the point where you are in pain, you're already at 80% dysfunction, right? So when you start making little changes, that number of function goes higher pretty quickly. And you can't do one thing without affecting everything in the body. So we just do little incremental things. But I ask them, don't change anything in the beginning, because I want to see what they're doing, and I want everything to fit into their lifestyle comfortably, because then it'll stick. If you give them a bunch of things to change, then it's really hard to turn your life upside down and make it work.
I imagine you serve all age ranges, male, female, whichever.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I call the program teen acne, but I do have probably about 25% of the people are adults, and that's fine. But yeah, we have a lot of people, that have developed acne as adults that didn't have it as kids. So there's a reason for that too. And again, that's an easy fix.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. What's the best way to contact you? As in, how do you like to be reached?
Yeah, so on my website, teenacneplano.com, there's a lot of information about my philosophy, how I do things. You can kind of see a lot of my personality in there because I'm very straightforward. I don't beat around the bush. And if it resonates, they can just click the button and schedule their consultation. And if it doesn't resonate, it's not going to hurt my feelings.
Sure. You won't know either way.
Not everybody's cup of tea.
Sure. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Parting thoughts for future clients.
I just want them to understand that everything's fixable. We don't put a label in Chinese medicine on people. Everything can change so quickly, and everything's fixable.
That's wonderful. Well, Michelle, I enjoyed this conversation and learning more about how we can, take control of the things that are bothering us about ourselves and heal.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today on the Caddo Convos podcast. A huge shout out to our incredible network of members for making our community vibrant and supportive. If you're looking to boost your productivity and reduce the isolation of working from home, consider joining us at Caddo Office Reimagined. Our spaces are designed to meet your evolving needs, support remote work, and foster a sense of community that's hard to find at home. Whether you're a startup aiming for growth, a freelancer seeking a professional setting, or a company looking to optimize resources, Caddo offers a perfect blend of flexibility and innovation. By joining us, you'll be a part of a dynamic business ecosystem that helps you thrive. For more information, visit caddooffices.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Caddo Convos.